nome della nuova mostra che verrà presentata venerdì 3 maggio alla Galleria 360, una rassegna artistica che riflette su un concetto estremamente labile e quanto mai controverso, ovvero quello dell'opera d'arte. Che cos'è un'opera d'arte? Ma soprattutto una mostra che in qualche modo riflette su la temporalità dell'opera d'arte, quindi il suo hic et nunc, il suo qui ed ora. 4 sono gli artisti in mostra: Charles Wilcox, che è qui presente in nostra compagnia, Judith Stone, Chico Cristobal e infine abbiamo Tilia Goodhind. Charles Wilcox è un artista che proviene dall'Australia. Si tratta di, come potete vedere, un artista che è pittore ma anche scultore, diciamo, con materiali che utilizza, soprattutto materiali che sono tratti da degli elementi naturali, e è un artista designer ma soprattutto un grande avventuriero. Un elemento infatti estremamente caratteristico di tutte le sue opere è questo amore indiscusso verso la natura, verso l'elemento marino e soprattutto questo spirito avventuriero che connota la cifra stilistica di questo artista. Charles, hello, welcome. It's a great pleasure to meet you in person. Okay, let's start with the interview. And when did you start your artistic adventure? And is there any anecdote connected?
So I started art at school, which is something I really enjoyed. It's probably one of my favourite subjects. After finishing VCE Year 12, I went on to do engineering and graphic design, both of which I enjoyed, but I didn't really like being inside, so I ended up a few years later setting up a outdoor adventure business in tourism. And pretty much on one day off, I had collected all this driftwood that were made from the fish, and I had made a fish and somebody bought it, and then I made another one, and before I knew it they were in galleries across Australia, and I was selling them to art collectors from London to Hong Kong, and then later on I started the Newspaper Girls, which are influenced from pretty much the sea, and the stripes come from, the idea of the stripes come from the Amalfi Coast, a recent trip that I had in Italy in September. So yeah, that's sort of where it all came about.
Okay. Now let's start with the artworks on display. In particular, how does the inspiration come out, and how do you realize this painting from a technical point of view?
Okay, so the original ideas came about from the vintage newspapers. A lot of the vintage Italian advertising, the old vintage Peroni beer ads, and a lot of vintage billboards from the 50s and the 60s. I really like the style of those, and I like painting the ink on the newspapers, sort of bringing life back to something that's been old or discarded, as well as the stories behind them. The technique, I guess, I paint ink on top of the newspapers, being an ink paper, it's sort of, I think it goes well. I guess the challenge is with the old newspapers, you sort of have to choose what you're sort of painting over and what you reveal. So it's sort of a bit like, I think, in modern media, that you don't always see the full story. So you only see certain sections of things, even today with media. And newspapers too, I think, are interesting because it's a changing times now with digital media. Newspapers, I think, are probably going to become something of the past. So I like bringing new life to something old.
It's a very interesting challenge.
They don't always turn out the way I planned. One brush stroke can completely destroy a painting, so I have to start again.
Thank you. Last question regarding the topic of this exhibition. What do you think about the art and the artist's role in this society today?
I think probably the biggest challenge of an artist is we're always influenced by other people's work, but you have to stay true to yourself. paint what's true to you, and it's your representation of what you love. You can't always make everybody happy with art. My inspiration is the sea. I love everything to do with the sea. The driftwood fish, part of it for me is the adventure of collecting the driftwood and going along the coast and finding the items. It's not just about the final product, it's about the adventure of going to remote areas and picking up the pieces and then bringing them back to my studio. So it's my love of being outdoors. And I think the love of the sea for me, if someone else loves the sea, they connect with my artwork.
Okay, thank you, Charles. I really appreciate your explanation, and I wish you all the best for your artistic research.
Thank you very much for